You know, it's funny, a lot of people can't see the beautiful colors that we see right now because color blindness is a common condition that is usually present at birth but not often recognized until much later on in life. So here helping us realize how we can find this in our children is Dr. JJ. I want to say welcome.
Welcome.
Color blindness just means you can't see color, right?
No, it means that you can see a range of colors, but they may not be what you actually perceive. So we have areas of our eye. We've got a graphic here I want to show you. They're called rods and cones. And cones are responsible for color vision. Rods are responsible for night vision and black and white vision. Cones are composed of red perception, green perception, and blue perception. And they should give us the full spectrum of color that we see. But if you're missing some or part or all of your cones, you're going to have a great alteration of what your brain sees.
How do we find this in our kids? I can't imagine.
Well, it runs in families. So if families have color blindness, we sometimes will suspect it when kids do things like smell their food because they can't distinguish the colors between, say, peas and carrots. If they're coloring with the wrong crayon, if bright lights bother them because bright light seems to really wash out any way that you can distinguish things, they may not be able to sort colors in school. And so we can suspect that whether you have it in your family or not, but actually 1 out of 12 males has color blindness, whereas only 1 out of 200 females does. So we certainly see it more in our male children.
When a person is colorblind, what does a person see?
Okay, so this is an intriguing thing, and actually online there are color blindness simulators. So first of all, let's just look at like a typical day in a life of a kid. Crayons are part of what you do at school, right? And street lights, we teach our kids to cross the street safely, red, yellow, green. Now, if you are red-green colorblind, which is the most common. It's 92% of those who are colorblind. This is what you would see in your crayon box. If you were asked to pick out the pink elephant, you can't do it. That all you see is shades of blue and green. And even more significant is if you're asked to cross the street and there's a red light on, this kid sees this.
How does a person drive?
Right, so I mean, as an adult, you might recognize a flashing light there, but for a kid in whom you're really trying to teach street safety, this can be very hazardous. So there's really very little to distinguish a red light. A green light might show up as something grayish, and a yellow light might show up a little bit more distinctly, but this is a very important thing. And then we can show the blue-yellow color blindness, quite the opposite, where life is pretty rosy and green, but the blues and purples wash out, and they, in essence, look like they're brown. So your street lights, if we could appreciate it, we could say they look pink and blue to us. At least they can distinguish top, middle, and bottom. But it's the most common, the red-green, that really is at the most risk.
Well, how do we test for it?
Okay, so testing for it, in the past we had what were called Ishihara cards, which had numbers or letters embedded in fields of dots. But now we have something called color vision testing made easy, and we've got a graphic of this. The lovely thing about this is in 3, 4, or 5-year-olds, before they enter school, most kids will recognize a circle, a star, a square, and you at home, if you don't, maybe check with your eye doctor. But anyway, this works well with young children, but also people who have developmental disabilities or folks who can't read or can't process numbers and letters. And so the shapes are a lot more easy to recognize. So we can use these as early as 3 years of age.
Why is it important that we test for this? I'm trying to put that connection
I mean,
together.
think about it. Elementary school education is color-based. It really is. And so often children go to elementary or preschool and they're labeled as learning disabled because they can't color the right way, or they get bored with coloring because it's so difficult for them to process, or grouping colors together, or even lessons that are in color they can't distinguish.
Aren't the teachers aware of this?
They're not, and so they may be mislabeled. So what you can do is actually get an individualized education plan. If you know your child has color blindness before school, we can advocate for black and white lessons, for chalk colors that they can see, so that they can thrive in school and not have this be held against them.
Is this just the hand that we have to play? Is there a way to treat this? Is there a way to correct it?
I'll tell you, later in life, and my brother's a great example, he was red-green colorblind in only one eye, and he wanted to be a police officer his whole life. He couldn't pass the exam, so an ophthalmologist in our area actually made him a red lens so that he could actually perceive red, and he was able to pass the exam, and he was a cop for 35 years.
That's amazing.
Wow.
So there are
there's options.
workarounds for this,
Yeah.
except
Sure.
for the most extreme case where people have no cones and they see in black and white their entire life. Imagine that.
Oh my.
How food looks, how the world
I'm just
looks.
thinking of those who
So
work in
sad.
that profession, and like an electrician, for example.
Yes, yeah.
You're trying to don't cross the red wire. You
Right,
know?
right.
And now
Or if you're an aviator, or if
Yeah.
you're a house painter. I mean, imagine
Well, you
that you
wouldn't be probably.
that'd be a big mistake.
but you'd have
Said
shades
blue.
of green or blue. Yeah,
And
exactly.
we couldn't find the right nail polish.
Oh, gee.